The most overcrowded prison system in the country is letting criminals out before they serve their entire sentence.
Prison officials say not only is it practical, it's also the law. For the past 2 months, Fox 10 News reporter Libby Amos has been taking a very close look at Alabama's prison system.
And Bob, she's uncovered a system in a desperate situation, which some say requires desperate solutions. Libby?
In an effort to send fewer people into the already overcrowded Alabama prison system, the legislature has created laws that allow inmates who are well behaved while behind bars to get out early. The State Sentencing Commission has also stepped in and advised judges to change the way they decide how to punish criminals. All of these actions are being taken to reduce the number of people sent to prison, because as we explained last night, there's no room and no money to keep them locked up. Alabama operates the most overcrowded prison system in the country. Take a look in this dorm at Kilby Correction Facility in Mount Maggs. There are about 200 beds in this room, and at any given time, there may only be 1 or 2 officers standing guard. Because jails are jammed, the legislature came up with a way to release prisoners as soon as possible.
Derek, what made you find yourself?
For example, this is 24-year-old Derek Miles. Miles pleaded guilty to manslaughter after shooting and killing a 15-year-old boy. Miles was convicted at age 19 and sentenced to 15 years. Miles only served 5 years of hard time. And after he was released, he became the suspect in 3 smash-and-grab burglaries. Police say surveillance video caught Miles in the act. So how did Miles get out of prison so soon? For every 20 days he behaved in jail, he got 70 days of credit. And this was no special favor. He was entitled by law to receive extra time in exchange for being good.
And they may work their way down to community work.
Department of Corrections Commissioner Richard Allen says the good time law has been on the books since the 80s.
Well, the law provides that they will get so many days good time is computed up front. They lose it by their actions. So if they're good prisoners, if they don't get in trouble and get disciplinaries, they're going to get out based on this initial calculation.
The good time law allows certain inmates to get out of prison before serving their full sentence. The goal is to free up space for more violent offenders who should stay longer. To qualify for time off, offenders must have a sentence of 15 years or less and not have been convicted of a Class A felony. Rape, robbery, kidnapping, murder, burglary, and arson are a few crimes that are considered the most serious and are labeled Class A. But crimes like assault, manslaughter, sexual crimes, theft of property, and DUI are not considered violent enough. Those convicted on these types of crimes can get good time. So are efforts to harness overcrowding enabling convicted felons to get out too soon? Bennett Wright, a prison statistician in Alabama, says the Sentencing Commission realized too many nonviolent offenders were being sent to jail. So it developed guidelines for judges.
Put them down for it. What's the mentality behind the Sentencing Commission guidelines?
The real driving force behind the guidelines was to maintain public safety while at the same time developing an effective, efficient system. And one thing that we're really trying to do is to make sure that those nonviolent offenders who really don't have any criminal history or a small criminal history are recommended for a non-prison option to people.
Mobile County Circuit Court Judge John Lockett has used the recommended guidelines, but says time sentenced was supposed to be time served. It's a process known as truth in sentencing.
That was the other half of the equation, which the legislature hasn't adopted. And the reason they haven't adopted is because everywhere it's been used, that has significantly increased the prison population.
Judge Lockett acknowledges the guidelines actually shorten the time that inmates serve. Locking people up may solve the problem for a short time, but with the laws in place, they will more than likely be out sooner than later, and many will commit crimes once they're out.
How do you and your department kind of attack that problem, the revolving door?
we incarcerate people who are sentenced to us. We don't have any control over when they come or when they go. I mean, either the judge or the law provides for those type of things. But we secure them and try to rehabilitate them while we have them. But we don't have any control over how many come in or how many go out.
The fact is, violent criminals are being let out of prison.
That's the tough part. Like I said, when you get a violent criminal, that's easy. I mean, you just figure out what the most time you can give them and you send them to the penitentiary. But the ones that have something going for them, they've made some mistakes, maybe they've made several, those are the ones that you've got to find somewhere in your range of options, something that will hopefully both protect the public but also change their life.
Before handing down a sentence, the judge has to consider not only the punishment for a crime, but also when that offender will get out and if they'll offend again. Knowing that 95% of people who go to prison will get out before they die, one has to wonder, what are we doing to prepare them for re-entry into the free world? And once a criminal gets out of prison, who's keeping tabs on them?
Our average caseload per officer right now is 196 per officer, plus they have to write these mandatory pre-sentence investigations, and that's a major problem.
So one parole officer who may be working out in the field is responsible for making sure that about 196 people are coming to him, checking in, being drug tested, and have a job and are following the rules.
Exactly. And there's usually a lot of rules.
That's scary.
It is scary.
Tomorrow night, we'll put the Board of Pardons and Paroles under the microscope. Bob?